Welcome everyone to another episode of the Camper Report. Today we have a guest that I've had on the show a few times, but not for first time in a while, Kobe Ransom. Today, how are you doing first off? It's crazy that the 49ers are in the NFC Championship game. We still are talking about them or talking about 49ers football in January or late January. How are you doing? It's quite exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. My nerves have been bad since Tuesday. I'm super nervous, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely was not expecting to still be in the dance this long, but definitely happy about it. It's always a good thing.
Yeah, and it's really just crazy. Like the teams that they've had to go through, if you would have told me we would have beaten the Packers in Lambeau, I would have said, with the quarter a few months ago with the quarterback play that we were getting, I was not I was not ready to say that. So, it's really incredible, but yeah, let's just get right into it. Tom Brady, obviously, we'll break down the 49ers game. We're going to be breaking down all of the two championship games, and a few other things. But first, the news on Tom Brady today. Um, Retirement looked like there was news that he would be retiring, and then um the sources were wrong, but apparently he still will retire. He just hasn't made a final decision. So what did you really make of that news today on Tom Brady and it not being true? That was a little bit interesting. Um,
Yeah, Adam Schefter, he's been questionable.
yeah.
So a couple of times this year. The Rodgers stuff before the draft. There was something else he was wrong on too. I forget what it was, but yeah, this Tom Brady thing. I think it's more so. I think he wants to announce this himself.
Yeah.
I think that's more so what it is. I think he might end up still retiring. Um, but the fiasco of him retiring and everyone's like, "Oh shoot, congratulations, Tom! This great career, everything." And now it's like, "Oh, it's not official. He hasn't told anybody he's retiring yet." And it's like, "Oh, never mind." Everyone deletes their tweets. Gotta go back on their word, and it's just kind of like, "All right, well, maybe he's not retiring," but I think he
Yeah.
still retires. Um, 22 seasons. He won a chip without Belichick last year, in Tampa. So he's done that. He's got 7 rings. He's been to 10 Super Bowls. He's got all the accolades. I think now
Yeah.
at 44, seeing, as many times as he got hit this year, some of the
Hmm.
drama and just all the BS going on in Tampa this year, the injuries. Um, it's just, I think Tom might look at this and like, you know what? I've done enough. I've done enough.
Yeah.
I'm the greatest football player of all time at quarterback, at least. And he's done enough, and no one's gonna question him for
Yeah.
retiring or anything. I think it's funny we're all shocked by it because it's like, oh, he's retiring, like he's 44 years old. Like at this
Right.
point, most football players have retired by now, but
Yeah.
him retiring is like, oh wow, he's retiring. But Tom's he's been doing this for a long time. He's played more years of football than I've been alive.
Right.
So,
Oh, dang.
and I'm 21. So like
Okay.
he's been in the league for a long time. So he's been there, done that, done about everything at this point. Like he mentioned his family, he wants to be there with his wife, he's gonna be there for his kids,
Hmm.
live more of a normal dad life. So I think that's on his mind. I think with that being said, I think he's done. I think this is more so he wants to announce this himself because it's such a big deal of him retiring. He wants to be able to, he's a big kind of like the hype videos and social media. He's good at that kind of stuff. So I think
Yeah.
he wants to kind of, he's got his own show too.
Right.
So
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I can't right now
I haven't
remember the
watched an
name of
episode
it.
of it at all,
Oh,
but
okay.
he does have a show on ESPN. So I think he just wants to be able to kind of like have his own moment and to kind of announce that himself, and they're kind of
Yeah.
ruining that for him. Or he could come back for one more season just to kind of spite Schefter and them for the Deflategate thing and his gripe with the media over that situation. So that's also a possibility, but I think he still retires. I think it's more so just he wants to announce this himself.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just for me, it just really speaks to like all the media people. He didn't say this once, I think, and they just came up with it randomly, like these sources, but he didn't actually say it. And so like the media people, they really ran with it while it was hot today. They ran with it, but it really wasn't true what like what they were saying. And so it's really just like it really speaks to me that you can't, especially media people, you can't say stuff right away unless it's right from the person,
And
you know?
also,
So,
Big Ben retired, but he posted a video first, and then people were like, "Oh yeah, here's
right,
an official. He's retiring." So it is surprising that they somehow got Tom's news of him retiring before he's able to put out any
right.
kind of video or any kind of thank you, just kind of that
Yeah,
kind of thing. Because Ben had a chance, we knew he was going to retire at the end of the season, but he still put out a
right.
video. Then the reporters like, "Oh yeah, here we go. It's official. He's finally retiring." Thomas like, "Oh yeah, he's retiring." Just out of nowhere. And it's like,
Yeah.
wait, really? He is?
Well, the thing is like I looked today and I was on my YouTube homepage like 30 minutes before the news broke or whatever, and I'm like, okay, and then I get on the next 30 minutes and I'm like, what? Like, what just
Yeah.
happened? I don't know if the NFL YouTube channel, because I was they put out like this whole video of like Tom Brady's like 8 minutes of Tom Brady's best plays against all 32 teams. I'm not sure if they've deleted that now, but it's pretty funny how basically the whole world reacted to it in the space of 1 hour, and then it was like, "Nope, he hasn't announced it yet." So, it was
Yeah.
just funny. Uh,
Yeah, if it turns out to be
Interesting.
wrong and he's not retiring, Adam Schefter is gonna. I mean, that's a heavy blow,
Yeah.
and because everything that happened after that, just all the videos and oh look at all his accolades and this and that and the congratulations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all gonna look really weird and out of place if he's like, actually, I'm not retiring. I'm actually still playing next year. So
Yeah.
it'll be
And well,
funny though.
and also I think it was Adam Schefter who also got it, well, I guess most people got it wrong on the Mac Jones to the 49ers thing.
Yeah, that's
So,
what it was. Yep, that's what it
yeah.
was.
Yeah. So, 49 so, I mean, that's an interesting piece that I just wanted to quickly bring up, but let's get to the AFC and NFC, championship games coming up this Sunday, tomorrow, obviously. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm looking forward to it. Last week was an electric week, but let's get to the first game. We'll get to the 49ers. We'll get to all of that, but let's get to the first game. Previewing the Bengals versus Chiefs matchup. These two teams met before. The Bengals sneaked it out. What do you think about this matchup? Who do you think will win? Let's just break it down. I mean, yeah, what do you think?
I think the Chiefs definitely should win this game. They're
Yeah,
at home. They look like their old selves now. Like they're scoring like less than 13 seconds. I mean, all that good stuff. Um, when they're really going, it's hard to see anyone beating them, really.
right.
And the Bengals, I, defensively, they had some turnovers from Ryan Tannehill last week that really helped them
Mm,
out. I feel like
yeah,
I'm worried about their O line a bit, giving them 9 sacks. I know the Chiefs defense is not on par with the Titans D line, but I mean they're still gonna be able to get pressure with that kind of O line play. And you just wonder if the Bengals get off to a slow start, can the Chiefs just
right,
pull away early? And
right.
we saw them score 21 against the Steelers in the second quarter. Then we saw them,
Mm,
we saw them go blow for blow with the Bills. That was just an offensive, just explosion, just kind of just a light show. But I mean, the Chiefs, they look like the Chiefs, man. And when they're on
I
top,
know.
when they're on their game, it's hard to really see anyone beating them. And the Bengals are not a great defense, but they're an opportunistic defense. Will the
Yeah,
Chiefs give them any turnovers? Like, will they be on a kind of game where they are struggling to bail offensively, or if it's going to be a shootout, I'm taking the Chiefs. And
right.
I don't know how long the Bengals will be able to keep up, especially second time they're meeting each other. The Chiefs now, just make some adjustments. The game was in Cincinnati first, right? The first matchup, I
Cincinnati,
think.
I
Yeah. So
believe,
now the
yeah.
Chiefs are at home. Um, they've been there before. The Bengals, young team, haven't been there before. The Chiefs, this is
Right,
their third or fourth straight year in the
right.
championship game. So they've been here before numerous times. The stage might not be too bright for them. For the Bengals,
Right.
though, you
Mm,
wonder maybe some nerves early. If things go wrong, can they really
yeah,
rebound? I just, with the way the Chiefs are going right now, I have a hard time
right.
picking against them, even though the Bengals have been finding ways to win. The Raiders
Mhm,
game wasn't pretty. The Titans game wasn't pretty, but they've won. It's still kind of like have a hard time picking against the
mm.
Chiefs right now, and I'm just not going to. I got the Chiefs winning this one.
I mean, and that's the thing, like, Mahomes isn't going to slow down. Like, they're not going to slow down the offense. So, really, the question is, can they keep up with them pace by pace, the offense? And I really believe that I believe the Bengals really could give them a run for their money. You've got Jamar Chase. You've got Joe Burrow. everything else. But like you said, the one concern is the offensive line because 9 sacks given up from the Titans. Now, the Titans defensive line is better than the Chiefs defensive line, but that's not going to work. So the only way you're going to beat the Chiefs is if you outscore them. Like, you're not going to barely get any turnovers. You might get the ball back a few times per game.
Like the Bills had the number one
Right.
defense in the league, and
Exactly. So
they
you're
couldn't
not,
stop the Chiefs
no.
for nothing. And like you said, you got to keep up. Like if
Yeah.
they start, you got to go score for score. And
Right.
I just don't feel like the Bengals can do that. I mean, I know
No.
they kind of did in the first game in Cincinnati, but at the same time, I feel like
Right.
that's hard to replicate. And I mean, because Josh Allen was pulling off some like they were
I know.
they were
They
playing
were
out there.
electric. Yeah.
Like
I mean,
that was some very good offense from Josh Allen and and Gabriel Davis and what they were doing to that Chiefs secondary. But
right.
I know these receivers are super talented, but I mean Burrow can't. I mean he's good,
Right.
but obviously he can't do the things that Josh Allen was able to do in that game. And the Bills still lost, even with that great
Right.
performance. And I don't think Burrow can really match that kind of performance. So I have a hard time. Can the Bengals beat them? Definitely.
Right.
They're here for a reason. But the way the Chiefs are playing, it would take them to not be under a game for them to lose this, I feel like.
Yeah, and I mean, last time they played, Patrick Mahomes, 259 yards, 2 TDs, 113.9 passer rating. So that's he did play really good against the Bengals last time. And I mean, how many I think the really big thing that the Bengals can do to win this game is running the ball and control the clock. But can they do that effectively? I don't have no idea. I think the Chiefs, I mean, the one thing that I actually just thought of is the Bills, they don't have as good of a run game as the Bengals. So maybe
Right.
you see the Bengals maybe trying to take more of the approach of running the ball. Like the Bills, yes, they went blow for blow with the Chiefs, but they didn't have the other strong element of running the ball. And maybe that's why, they gave the Chiefs so many chances, so many drives to score. So maybe if the Bengals could run it better than the Bills did, maybe you can give the Chiefs less chances and make their offense less explosive. I think the Bills, that's the one thing that the Bills were missing last game was maybe their run game is a little bit not as effective as other teams' run games. So
yeah, for the Chiefs, I feel like the game plan, and this is something that the Niners could do if they end up meeting each other in the Super Bowl, is really keep them off the field with good defense early in a run game and kind of just drain the clock and not give them a chance to go drive after drive and have time to get hot and really start to just pour it on. So that's also just kind of a strategy there to try to slow it down and not go with a fast break offense, trying to score as fast as possible. And just really kind of control the clock. Old school football kind of approach. That might be the best way to do it. The Niners did that in the first Super Bowl they played the Chiefs in.
Yeah.
Mahomes looked the worst he looked in a while. The Tampa Bay kind of did that in the Super Bowl last year. Because Brady wasn't fantastic, but the run game was great and the defense was great. Obviously, Mahomes was missing offensive linemen, so that kind of played a factor. But when it comes to the Chiefs losing these big games, that's normally what it comes down to is being able to kind of slow down their offense and not allow them to have multiple drives and just being able to do what they want to do and kind of control the clock with the run game, really tire their defense down and give your defense some rest.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Bills defense was tired of running around that entire game towards the end there, and that may have been why they were so leaky towards the end.
Yep.
So that if they can run the ball well, that gives them a chance. Obviously, with Joe Mixon, they're able to do a better job of that than what the Bills are able to do. They were trying to do it with Josh Allen. It worked for a bit, but also, I mean, Jamar Chase had 266 yards in his first matchup
in that game.
In the first time they played the Chiefs. So I don't think they're allowed them to do that. Also, the Bengals did a good job of defending Tyreek Hill and Kelsey.
Right.
I'm assuming that the Chiefs have a better plan this time around. Probably gonna be harder to do. The Chiefs, the Bengals, I think they had two favorable matchups. We both talked about it before with the Titans. I wasn't really scared of the Titans much.
Yeah.
There's something about them that never really. I was like, they're the one seed, but are they really the one seed?
Really, yeah.
Didn't really feel like it. But in terms of and then the Raiders too. The Raiders are like they kind of just got in. If the Chargers were there, maybe the Bengals lose that game. They would have played somebody else, but
maybe
if it was
again the Bengals. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it would have been a different team. They wouldn't have played the Chargers if the Chargers had won that game, but. Still, if they had played a different team, maybe it doesn't go as well.
Yeah.
I think they had two favorable matchups. This one, though, I just feel like it took a lot for them to win that first game.
Mm,
Against the Chiefs. I just don't know if they can do it again, especially on the road, and then in a game
right.
that's this big with a lot of young players. It might be just not their year. Wrong team, wrong time for them.
Well, and I mean, like a lot of people have been saying this past week, the Bengals, like if they lose, whatever, the future is bright for them no
Right.
matter what. They've got a 3-year window after this that they can do basically whatever they want. I think they'll be back in it next year
Yeah, you get a
again.
chance to improve your line, improve the
Yeah.
defense a little
They're
bit, and Burrow's on a
yeah.
rookie contract. You get those opportunities with that star-studded offense already. So, yeah,
And they're
this year,
yeah,
them losing this year wouldn't be a big deal. It's like, okay, we played the Chiefs. The
right.
Chiefs are really good.
It,
They're built to win championships right now.
yeah. In Arrowhead where it's going to be basically below freezing. So
Right.
that's going to be rough as well. Yeah. Well, I mean, enough of that. Everyone wants to hear the 49ers and the Rams and everything else. Let's talk about first, before we get to really breaking down the matchup of the 49ers versus the Rams. Can the 49ers win the Super Bowl with poor QB play? Jimmy Garoppolo really hasn't been playing great. Passer rating under 90 the last 4 games or whatever. It's all these stats, 1 TD, 1 passing TD, 4 interceptions or something. It's pretty bad. So can't they still win the Super Bowl with poor quarterback play is my question.
No, it can't be poor. It can't
No.
be poor. And I thought the way Jimmy played last week, they would definitely lose. That
Right.
block definitely saved them in that game. I have no idea if the Niners would have been able to score twice without that block. We scored a touchdown and then get the field goal afterwards.
Right.
But I mean, Jimmy had a nice final drive in that game. He had a good first half against the Cowboys.
Mm.
But I mean, he had a good first drive too. In that Packer game,
Yeah.
he had 2 throws
Right.
that the drop from Kittle, the drop from Jennings, 2 really good throws that maybe if they got off to a hot start in offense in that game, maybe Jimmy's a little bit different in that game. But if he plays the way he played, in the second half of that Cowboys game for the majority of that Packers game, I mean, we saw what it took to beat the Rams the first time. He had to kind of turn it up in that second half.
Right.
That he was
Right.
he was pretty good in that second half of that game. The first half was terrible. If they can get second half Jimmy from that Rams game in Week 18, they can win the Super Bowl. If they can get that
Right.
consistently through the rest of these playoffs, they can win the Super Bowl because the rest of the team is just so good. The
Right.
defense is
It's all elite.
phenomenal. The offense has the weapons to do what they need to do on offense and has the play caller and the run game to be able to control the game. But Jimmy can't play where he's throwing the ball away into the hands of defenders, just risky throws for no reason. Those kind of things have to stop. They've been able to somehow get away with that these first 2 games.
Yeah.
I just don't know how much longer they can. Really 3 games. The first half of that Rams game was tough. Although Jimmy does get credit for that second half. Obviously brought them back and won it. But yeah, the second half of that Cowboys game shouldn't have never been that close, to be honest. They shouldn't have had a chance to even get to that slide play that everyone was talking about towards the end. Should have been, a blowout from start to finish.
Yeah.
And that Packers game, without what does that game look like without the block punt? Now, what does it look like? Do they score? Do they still get the touchdown?
Yeah,
We don't know.
that's well, and no, at this point, like I wouldn't have trusted Jimmy Garoppolo and the offense the way they were playing the whole game. I wouldn't have trusted him to go down and get a touchdown that last drive. So it was a miracle. It was a miracle. We would not have won that game without the blocked punt. So, anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all in all, my answer is if Jimmy plays like he's been playing for the majority of these games, I don't think so. I think, with this game against the Rams, 6 straight. I mean, I think at some point, I mean, it's not really the 6th straight, but the fact that this is the 3rd time I'm playing them this season. Now the crowd may be on the Niners side for this game, so they might not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But as far as just playing the Rams for a 3rd time, I know, just the talk is, just the style, the way the Niners play versus the way the Rams are built. The Niners are able to kind of have more success against them because they're more of a physical team. And, this Rams team tends to get a bit emotional during the game, or maybe they get smacked in the mouth and they're not able to respond the way they would like to. So, you kind of have that factor, but at the same time, this Rams team is scary. Just seeing what they can do the way they destroyed Arizona. Not that Arizona was like a really great team towards the end.
Right.
They kind of just were like last year, but except they made the
Mhm.
playoffs this time. Um, and then obviously the Tampa Bay, obviously a hurt Tampa Bay team might have been different if they had, Godwin and they were a little bit healthier. But at the same
Right.
time, they got off to a great lead. The defense was fantastic in that game for them until the end when some weird stuff started happening. But the
Right.
offense was explosive. Cooper Cup is great. Um, yeah, it's a scary team. They got a lot of stars. They have a good head coach. A good play caller.
Right.
Um, it's a good team. It's a good team. They're not here in accident. Even with the past, this team, is not easy to beat, regardless of what
Right.
the record says. The last 6 times we played them, it's not easy to beat.
Right.
This could be a game where the Rams finally figure it out. They're able to play a
Right.
full 60-minute game. I mean, they got up 17-0. In that Week 18
Right.
game, we were thinking, okay, this game's already over. First half, they can do that.
Mhm.
Against this team, they have done it before. They just got to put it together for a full 60 minutes. Will they is the question. Um, and if that's the case, if the Rams are able to put together a 60-minute game, then Jimmy Garoppolo absolutely cannot play the way he's played the last 2 weeks.
Right. I mean, I think even if you're looking ahead to this, like, let's say they beat the Rams and everything else, and you now have to play the Chiefs. I do not trust, like, I think that, yeah, the 49ers defense is good, but I think the 49ers defense is, they will not be able to slow down the Chiefs enough to where the Chiefs are scoring 20 points. I think they'll be able to slow them down to where the Chiefs are maybe scoring 24, 27 points. But do you really trust the 49ers to score that many points on offense as well? I don't. So, like, that's the thing. Like, if winning the Super Bowl is, I mean, especially like now, maybe like the ideal thing for 49ers fans is that we beat the Rams and the Bengals beat the Chiefs,
Yes.
because we have already beaten the Bengals, better matchup, everything else. But if we play the Chiefs, I'm just not confident that the explosiveness of that offense, that will be able to keep up with poor quarterback play or mediocre quarterback play. And I don't think it's ever going to change this season with Jimmy Garoppolo just because he's injured. I think we've seen what we've seen from Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe we'll see a little bit better play uh, than last week because it was in colder weather. Obviously, injured quarterbacks in colder weather, that's always not very good. But the one question that I do have for you is Trent Williams playing? Like, I think he is. There hasn't really been any news on him.
So Jimmy kind of leaked that he has a high ankle sprain that he's
Yeah.
dealing with, and those are always rough. So most people are saying it's probably 50-50. It's about how
Yeah.
much he can probably tolerate the pain. Um, so he's probably a game time decision, more likely. I know that he's listing him as questionable. He says he's going to play. That's what he's told Kyle.
Right.
But I mean, we just honestly, I have no idea. I don't think they have an idea. It's just going to be kind of a before the game we find out if he's playing or not.
Right. Well, I mean, so do you want to like get into the game more by previewing it, or what are your thoughts on just some?
Yeah, we can. The approach here is going to be the Niners doing what they've been doing, and that's trying to obviously get the ball to Deebo Samuel a
Yeah,
lot, because he tends to make things happen. I would like for them to get Kittle more involved. I'm not really
I
scared of their
know.
linebackers.
Yeah.
I think that's a massive place where they can dominate this team. Um, but I imagine they're probably going to be a little more run heavy. Kyle
Mhm.
doesn't seem to trust Jimmy that much in these playoff games. Just the way that they call the plays, he really kind of tries to lean in the run game and Debo as much as possible.
Right.
It's really felt like in these, the Cowboys and the Packers game. It's been a whole lot of Debo and a whole lot of run plays.
Yeah.
So Jimmy hasn't had to do a whole lot, and I don't think he really hopes that he has to. But I think Jimmy in this game, I think the Rams they'd be mistaken to not try to make Jimmy make plays in this
Right.
game. So I have a feeling that they're going to be playing a little bit harder on these runs, maybe committing to Debo a bit more and just making Jimmy have to make the plays to beat them, and hoping that he tosses them a couple turnovers or whatever, and they're able to score on the other side. Um, I'll say that if the Niners don't turn the ball over, I think they win this game for sure.
Right.
That's like if they don't turn it over, they for sure win this game. Um, I think that's really the biggest thing is how many times will Jimmy have a oh no play
Yeah.
in this game
Oh,
because
yeah.
those are You give this, is it going to be maybe the Rams get a short field because of a
Right.
turnover? Is it going to be a Niners don't get a touchdown or a field goal because of a turnover?
Yeah.
Or that kind of like that Packers game, they're looking at least 3 points before the
Right.
half, and then Jimmy throws a pick, and it's like, well, now you get nothing. Um, Obviously,
Mm.
offense a lot harder in those cold conditions, especially when it starts snowing in the second
Yeah.
half. So you kind of have an idea if that Packers game is played in better weather conditions, does it look a little different?
Different.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, obviously we know it's an explosive offense. With Stafford and Odell Beckham and obviously Cooper Kupp, they've done a good job limiting them. But obviously you saw they can kind of get loose because they're just super talented. We saw early in that Week 18 game, this team, they're talented, so it's not like they can't get things going
Yeah.
on offense. Really, the Niners, what they try to do most is try to confuse teams in the secondary. Hope that their rush can get to him before he's able to kind of figure out what they're playing in coverage. But obviously, you see Stafford, is able to when he's able to see it, you can get big plays. So will they be as aggressive with that kind of approach, or will they be a little more conservative? We'll see. Niners obviously can win this game for sure. Their
Right.
defensive line they've had 15 sacks the last 3 weeks. They had 5 sacks in each of the last 3 games. The D
Right.
line, I mean, the debate is like, is this D line better than the 2019 Niners D line? Because it's a little bit
Right.
deeper. You're getting
Yeah.
production from almost everybody on that line versus
Everybody.
just like the
Yeah.
starting 5 or starting 4 when you had Armstead,
Mm.
Buckner with Bosa and Ford. But on this team, it's so much deeper. You take
Deeper.
Bosa, you
Arden
take Bosa
Key.
and Armstead off. You get Arden Key and you get Ebukam, you get DJ Jones in there. Like all these guys can still
Willis.
make
Yeah.
plays. Yeah, Jordan Willis off the edge as well. This D line is no matter who they put out
Right.
there, they can make plays. Street as well, able to make plays in
Right.
there.
Right.
And then these linebackers with Alshire, with Greenlaw and Warner, these
Yeah.
linebackers are fantastic. And then obviously Ward and Tart, most
It,
underrated safety duo in the
right.
league. Corner is like the only spot where you're really like, okay, but with Emery back this
Yeah.
week
But
and Mosley playing, they've been
right.
solid too. So
Well, and
it's like
even
this,
with go ahead.
this defense. It's like that's why I say no turnovers. They probably win this game because just
Right.
don't make it hard for the
Right.
defense because the defense is so good the way they've been playing.
Yeah.
It makes the job easier. And if they can rely on the run game, play mistake-free football, and their defense is able to do what they've been doing, I mean, there's a chance they could make this one-sided. And that's just how I
Right.
feel about it. It's a formula that works against any team.
Right.
There's no team's really equipped to handle it when you're able to do, to dominate the way they have been. That's why they're able to beat these teams like the Cowboys, the Packers, come back against the Rams because, they only scored 1 touchdown after that first
Right.
half. The Rams had. They only scored 1. That was like right before, Garoppolo came back and scored, a touchdown to tie the game back up. So this defense is really good. Obviously, the Rams defense is also really good, but Shanahan has, a game plan where he's able to still move the ball against them pretty well.
Yeah.
So it's just about not turning the ball over. Without the turnovers in that first, the second matchup, Week 18, probably doesn't get that ugly. There's some missed opportunities there, but it's really tough because I feel like most things point to where like the Niners can definitely win this game and could possibly win it with ease, like they did in that first matchup on Monday night. If they're able to really, play really well on both sides of the ball. But also knowing it's the third matchup, what's the approach for the Rams? Will they come with something a little different the Niners haven't seen yet? You imagine maybe not since they know each other so well, and also, how well they know each other. How, will this game be kind of like a dogfight where it's like low scoring and it's just tough from start to finish? It's going to be a good game. I think it should be a good game.
Yeah.
If it's not, it's because Jimmy, you get a really bad Jimmy. If it's not a good game, that's most likely why. But yeah, it's I feel like it's gonna be more evenly matched than people might think. I know a lot of the talk around the Niners is like, oh man, they might dominate. Or someone talking to media is like, oh, the Rams. I mean, the Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo's not that good. This and that. Rams have all these players. They should dominate, which is not really that simple when it comes to football. But it's a tough matchup. As a fan, I'm saying the Niners are going to win, obviously, as a fan, because that's what I want to happen. But am I confident in that, pick? No. I'll say I'm about 2% confident in that pick.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, in both games, Cooper Kupp, they haven't limited him in both games. And real quick, going back to what you said about the 2019 team, you could almost argue that these corners are better as well. Because remember, 2019 team, you had a rookie Emmanuel Mosley, okay? You had Richard Sherman, who almost was a liability because all they could play was cover 3 and
No, he
cover
was a
4 or
liability for
whatever.
sure towards the end.
Yeah. So, and then, this cornerback group is better. And then the linebacker group, you've got a more experienced Fred Warner. You've got a better Al-Shaair, I would say, right now than Quan Alexander was. And then you
Yeah.
have a better all of these guys are more older and more experienced Dre Greenlaw. So I would say this defense is absolutely better than the 2019
Well, that's kind of funny too.
defense.
You're kind of talking about experience because this Niners
Right.
core is still relatively intact from that first Super Bowl they went to in
Right.
2019 versus for the Rams. It might be a hostile environment for them, which is funny because they're playing a home game, but it might be a hostile environment. Like I
Crazy.
said, for the Bengals, she's been there before. Bengals
Right.
nerves might play a
Right.
factor, or things might get tough and they kind of just start to kind of falter a bit. Because it happened with the Rams. We see them falter
Right.
before in less important games. We saw them kind of getting, folding towards the
Right.
end of that Buccaneers game. Things got weird. Could the pressure mount up and maybe they kind of start to, make some mistakes here and there.
Right.
A lot of the players who haven't been here before. Stafford hasn't been here before. Funny, Garoppolo has only had to throw 8 passes in that game, but he has been here
I know.
before.
It's crazy.
He just kind of does that play a factor too? Because obviously, for when it comes to football or just sports in general, the human element it also is a factor. Like the game this magnitude, us as fans are nervous. How do you think players feel we're going to play in it? It's a big game. It's a big game. Niners been here before. They're hungry. Rams are just kind of
Right.
obviously they planned to be here. That's why they did what they did. The moves that they made. But at the
Right.
same time, being here is different because now you're here. Like it comes down to
Right.
this, and when things get tough, Niners might be a little more cool, calm, collected that we've seen in the earlier matchups. Versus them versus the Rams, where in the clutch, Niners were really good. Versus the Rams were like, man, they might blow this. So we'll see if that plays a factor as well.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to the Cooper Kupp thing, I mean, he has had 118 plus yards in both matchups that we played him. So we have not limited him, but we've done a good job at limiting Odell Beckham and obviously getting pressure on Matthew Stafford. I mean, Matthew Stafford he is 63.4 QB rating with pressure. Now against it, he's pretty good, dealing with pressure. But
Well, the
when you
Buccaneers didn't
actually get
pressure Stafford as much as the Niners did in Week
exactly.
18.
So when you get pressure in his face, I think it's a lot. He's going to be a lot. I mean, we've seen him get skittish and everything else. So that's big. And I mean, they 49ers defense obviously has no quarterbacks. It's so interesting because they have literally allowed, I think it was like 300-yard passers this year or whatever in the season. I believe it was.
They haven't allowed too many big. I mean, just watching the games, I haven't remembered the quarterback really having a day against us. Like it's like okay, it's kind of rough out there for him. So, but yeah, I think the pressure they can get. No one. I mean, obviously that Titans game, they were the only other team that kind of had that kind of factor. It's a shame that Tannehill wasted that game from that defense. I'd be mad, but but I mean, I'm sure they're mad anyway because they lost. Of course, to be mad, but I'd be like, Tanny, come on, man. We had 9 sacks. And you couldn't just not throw 3 picks. Like really?
I know.
But yeah, this pressure not as good as real. And we saw. I mean, what quarterback's going to be able to perform under those kind of that kind of pressure? I mean, we saw Dak have some rough moments in that Cowboys game. We saw Rodgers look rough, starting to rush stuff, and just really just uncomfortable. And Rodgers is Rodgers. Like we saw, he might win MVP this year, and with that pressure, we made him look like he wasn't that great. I mean, and we're talking about Stafford. It's not like he's Brady or no disrespect, but I mean, he's not like he's one of a top 5 quarterbacks. I mean, if they can get pressure on him, they can make him look pedestrian. So
and
then obviously with Shanahan and their kind of approach, we'll see with Cam Akers. So obviously Akers now that factors in. He came back for Week 18, but he wasn't that big of a factor in that game. He's been a bigger factor these last 2 weeks for them.
4 fumbles though. That's the thing.
So
if we
fumbles,
can get a few,
if Warner can get a couple, Warner, out there, and they can get a couple of fumbles from Akers, that'd be nice. But I imagine they might try to run the ball a bit more in this game. We'll see. We'll see if they try to be a little physical up front. Because we know they want to, if you want to slow down this pass rush of the Niners, you want to slow it down. And to do that, you got to run the football. And the Packers tried to do it. They couldn't do it. Also, the Niners
And
have a lot of
nobody really has been able to do it.
yeah, the Niners haven't allowed the 100-yard rusher, I think, in a while. I
Yeah,
remember when it was, but I think they're on a streak right now where they haven't had a 100-yard rusher. So it's not like it's easy to do, but I think for the Rams, they're going to have to do that.
right,
And as far as Cooper Kupp goes, I think the Niners know Kupp's going to get his.
right.
He's going to get his. He's hard to stop. It's about everyone else.
Odell and stuff.
So
Yep.
you can't have Kupp going off with Odell doing this and Van Jefferson doing that, and Tyler Higbee doing
Right.
this, and you got to limit it to one guy who's hurting you, so you can stop the rest of it. But for the Rams to kind of stop this pass rush, they got to be able to run the football. We'll see if they can or not, but that could be the deciding factor for their offense at least. And then for their defense, it's about getting the Jimmy gimmies that he tends to have. We talked about the Jimmy gimme plays, but Jimmy also gives away turnovers as well. He's good for at least one a game. I feel like I'm just waiting on it to happen. It's like, all right, so when's that? Is it here? Is it like every time it gets
It usually
like
happens
moving well,
earlier
but it's
on.
like, oh man, I know the Jimmy turnover is probably coming, but yeah, we'll see when it happens and what the stakes are when it happens. We know this team can come back from it. They did it in the Rams game. They're able to hold on in that Packers game as well. I still don't know how they won that game. I still don't know how.
So it's crazy how I don't even know. I mean, like, how do you go from, I mean, when I was punting, I was like, game over, the game is over. I was so sure that this game was over because I was like, there's no
it was the 4th and 1
way.
for me. It was a 4th and 1 where they went forward and didn't get it, and they motioned Williams and Mitchell didn't follow him. He just went up the middle and then got stuffed. And I was like, man,
Right.
that feels like that's it. Like, and then I was like, man, the Rodgers might go here and go right down the field, and they finally get it together. But no, it didn't happen. And with this defense, I keep waiting for, like, well, I'm watching the game with this Niners defense. I'm like, okay, the defense is playing really well, but at some point they're going to get a big play here, or it's going to be a bust in coverage here, or maybe they get you get good protection on one play, and then you get the quarterback time to throw something down the field. I just feel like at some point that's going to happen, and somehow it just never happens. And I just don't know how much longer they can keep that going. How long you can hold on and just just hold the fort steady while the offense is trying to figure things out.
Right.
I feel like this is the week where if the Niners have a slow start on offense, it could do them in.
Yeah.
I feel like this could be the week. And
I mean, and it almost did in that Rams game as well. Like, I think the Rams are going to learn from their mistakes. They're not that bad football team. The one thing that I will say is everyone's like, oh, they've beaten the Buccaneers. They've beaten the Cardinals. Well, first thing, you beat a Cardinals team, which I frankly didn't think was very good going into the playoffs.
I didn't either. The way when they lost how many games towards the end, like
it was like, I think
their only win was
lost,
like a Cowboys. That was their only win was the Cowboys.
It's 8-0. They started 8. They won like 2 games out of the last 9 or something like that. It was something crazy like that. So never thought the Cardinals was very good. You played a Buccaneers team that was injured, banged up. I didn't think they were very good. So I mean, in encouragement, the Rams have played teams that have matched up with them well. So that
the Cowboys and the Packers were tougher matchups for the Niners than the Rams were.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's. I mean, I think. Do you have anything else to say, or should we get on to the next 2 topics?
No, I think we can move on. I was mostly repeating points, but
yeah. So let's get Eric Bieniemy. I mean, I want to quickly say Nathaniel Hackett, like, love the guy, but here's the thing. And somebody, I can't remember who I was watching, brought up a great point the other day. I think it was actually Stephen A. Smith, to be honest. I don't even like watching him, but this time he finally made a good point. And he did say, Eric Bieniemy basically has the exact same resume or whatever, however you call it, as Nathaniel Hackett does. They both don't really call the offensive plays, supposedly. But the thing that I don't get is Nathaniel Hackett hasn't won a Super Bowl, and they do exactly the same things. So why would the Broncos pick Nathaniel Hackett over Eric Bieniemy when Bieniemy has won a Super Bowl? They both do supposedly the same thing. Why hasn't it Eric Bieniemy gotten hired yet when I mean, he's not even worse than Nathaniel Hackett. Like, it's really hard to understand. So Yeah.
Yeah. I know Bieniemy had some kind of case, some years ago. I think there was a situation about
Really?
something. I forget
Okay.
what it was. So I think there's that. I mean, it hasn't been a factor anytime recently. So I don't think that's a big
Yeah.
deal, to be honest, at this point, or at least it shouldn't be. Um, Now you hate to believe that this is always the case, but you have to think that race might be a factor here.
Mm.
Um,
Right.
it's tough to always
Maybe.
because that's not really a analytical or a really real like deep dive
Yeah.
into how he might not get a job, but you have to think that might be a factor.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been a black coach hired yet, so and also
Yeah.
seeing Brian Flores get the boot when he was doing pretty well in Miami, considering what they where they're at right now,
Right.
and considering he didn't even want Tua, he wanted Herbert, and if they had
Yeah.
Herbert, you imagine the Dolphins are much
They're
better.
scary if they do. Oh, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I hate for that to be my answer, but I feel like that's probably the biggest reason is just because he's a black coach, and right now there's only one black coach in the league, so it's not like it's something that's rare, or something that's few and far between. Nah, it's
Right.
it's a very relevant thing, and we'll see if D'Amico Ryans gets hired. We'll see who
Right.
Minnesota wants to pick up because
Mm.
there's a report today that they might be interviewing Jim Harbaugh, and if they're interviewing Harbaugh,
Hmm.
then I don't think that D'Amico Ryans is getting hired over in Minnesota. So,
Right.
and also just the Rooney Rule. A lot of these, interviews are more so because they have to interview a black coach or a
Right.
black candidate because of the Rooney Rule. I don't think that rule works. I think
Yeah.
it's like, oh, let me interview the black coach and be done with it, and it's not like a real interview. And so, as a black coach, I wouldn't even like that rule, to be honest, because like I'm probably just getting an interview because they have to interview
Right.
me, not
Right.
because they really want to. But I mean, I think as far as I think that's probably the biggest reason. Um, Outside of that, I can't think of much. The Chiefs' offense has been, great, and he's been there, and he's had interest
Explosive.
before, and
Yeah.
you imagine that. I mean, most teams want to get the good coaches off of the good staffs, off of the good teams.
Right.
You imagine the enemy would have been hired by now, seeing how explosive
Right.
the Chiefs' offense is. But then again, maybe thinking in football terms, maybe they feel like Mahomes is the biggest reason for that, and maybe
Mm.
just they just feel like the enemy without Mahomes wouldn't be able to replicate what they're doing in Kansas City, which wouldn't be wrong because no one else is going to have Mahomes.
Right.
So
Right.
maybe there's a fear that he wouldn't be able to replicate that kind of good offense without a quarterback of that caliber, which is where you want your
Right.
coaches to be able to have quarterbacks that aren't as talented as that kind of person, but still be a good team. I.e., Kyle Shanahan with Jimmy Garoppolo, the fact they've made 2 championship
Right.
games with Jimmy as the quarterback. Regarding what people think of Jimmy, he's still gotten there twice. You want a coach who can be able to do that.
Mm.
He was able to build a team where your quarterback might not be the best player on the team,
Right.
but you can still be a good team.
Yeah.
And maybe people don't think Bieniemy can do that because the offense for the Chiefs
Right.
hasn't really ever been this good until they got Mahomes, which Mahomes is a special talent. So
Yeah.
if it's not the race thing, if it's strictly football, it could be a fear that maybe what Brian Daboll did with Josh Allen, and the fact that he developed into that, and
Right.
just seeing over the years, like maybe we can get him to develop our quarterback to be something similar to that. Um,
Yeah.
just the fact that because Daniel Jones, with the Giants, he is a good runner. He's pretty
Right.
fast considering all things considered, and he's talented. It's
Right.
just that maybe you hope that Daboll can develop, Daniel Jones into a better, decision maker, maybe hold on to the ball a bit more and not fumble as much as he does. But that could also be wise. Maybe they just think from a football standpoint that he wouldn't be able to replicate what they're doing in Kansas City because maybe that's
Yeah.
more so because of Mahomes and not because of their coaching.
Well, and I think Nathaniel Hackett, I think it also goes back to a lot of he did kind of get to an NFC championship game with Blake Bortles. So that could be what could be what it is. They just kind of like if they're gonna bring in a quarterback, they like it better where like
Your coach
they
get the
like
most
it
out of them. Your
right,
coach get the most
exactly.
out of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also think they also did this because kind of a power play. They did it because they want to get Aaron Rodgers. Like that might be
Yeah.
another thing.
So yeah, I mean,
Right.
if Hackett brings Rodgers to wherever he got signed at, then that's definitely is a factor because obviously
No,
the enemy wouldn't
absolutely.
have that
The
factor.
enemy. Yeah. Yeah.
The enemy wouldn't be
Right.
able to do that. So if Rodgers likes Nathaniel Hackett and Hackett was like, hey, you
Right.
get me to Denver, I can bring Aaron Rodgers with me. kind of thing,
Right.
then definitely that if that ends up happening, then that definitely is what it's about. It's about getting Rodgers. And
Right.
if it's like a package deal where it's like, okay, we sign Hackett or we hire Hackett because we can get Rodgers alongside him.
Right. So I mean that those are a few points, but I mean another coach, Sean Payton. Surprising, like this was surprising. A lot of Saints fans did not think that he would be stepping away. But I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I think it was good for at least him because you're looking at a Saints team that is probably going to have to like undergo a major rebuild. Their cap absolutely their cap situation is bad. The worst cap team in the league. They're gonna have to undergo a rebuild where they're gonna have to bring in probably a new quarterback, a bunch of new players, lose. They're probably gonna be a very sucky team for the next few years. So Sean Payton made a good choice, but where will he go next? Like that's my question. Obviously, there's a few jobs open right now, but my biggest thing is he might just wait a year. I think he's gonna wait a year. I don't think he returns to football this year, but maybe one more season.
Yeah, there might not
Um,
be any jobs left that he wants to go
yeah,
to this
right.
year. I don't think Dallas is going to fire McCarthy right
No,
now. I think the fact that he survived this long means he's going to be the coach next year at least. Um, and then
Dallas Cowboys fans
Dan
are
Quinn
like,
stayed,
no.
and all of that, and yeah, I think he's
Yeah,
taking this year off. It sounded like he was going to take at least this year off to kind of just got to
yeah,
get a feel for what he wants to do next. Um, he probably will coach again. I don't think he's kind of like because he didn't say he retired. He said he was just stepping away for this year.
yeah,
I think it was because the Saints, the first year with Breeze gone, obviously you see how hard that is now without having Breeze as your quarterback. Um,
right,
$70 million over the cap. They're going to do a lot of maneuvering with the cap space and restructure contracts and let guys go and just kind of have to bite the bullet on a lot of players and just kind of start over a bit in some areas. He probably doesn't want to do that because your team is not going to be competing if you got to make cuts and things like that. You got to
right.
trade players away that you would like to keep because your cap is so bad. Um, so yeah, I think he was done with the Saints, and that's more
Yeah.
so what this is about. And then next year, I think you'll probably see. We know that there's rumors that Jerry Jones wanted to bring him to Dallas.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
probably the biggest thing that people are going to look towards is him maybe being like a Cowboys head coach sometime soon. If it's not that, I heard he's like an Illinois guy, so maybe he goes to Chicago. But Chicago
yeah.
is getting a new coach. Pretty, have they hired a new coach
The
yet?
Colts guy, yes, the Colts guy, Matt
That's right. That's right.
Eberflus or whatever.
So they have to fire him after 1 year,
Right,
to
right.
get Peyton in the building. So I'm not sure about that. I think it's more so. I think if he's a coach next year, it's probably in Dallas. If I had to guess,
Mm,
based on what things
yeah,
I've heard and kind of
yeah,
just
probably.
things that probably make sense. That Dallas team, he has a good quarterback in Dak. We'll see how things
That
go with their
team,
talent.
that would be scary. Dallas
Yeah,
and Sean Payton,
we
oof.
gotta see what happens with Gallup. Will he still be in
Yeah,
Dallas? No, he has the injury, so we'll see how long it takes him to get back.
right.
Cooper, how old is Amari Cooper now? I feel like he's getting old.
Here, I'll
I
quick
think he got to be at least in
I
his
can
late
look it
20s, I
up.
believe.
Um,
Yeah, he's only 27. It's not too bad. So he'd be like what 28, 29 next, around the
yeah,
time that Peyton gets there if
when
he's still
Sean
there.
Payton gets there.
Obviously, you got CeeDee Lamb. Elliott probably will be gone at some
Mm,
point soon, but they have Tony
yeah,
Pollard, who's been better than Zeke, at least more
Zeke,
explosive,
yeah,
in my opinion. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, we have the quarterback in Dallas. And maybe Peyton takes Dak to the next level. He's already
right.
been good, but maybe he takes him to that next level where he's
Mhm,
able to really, do some special things with him. That's probably because they have a quarterback who's good and under contract. That might be why it's the most attractive job. Does he
right.
want to kind of develop a guy like Justin Fields? Like how is he looking, after next season?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I will
that
say
can really impact.
I didn't really get the Matt Eberflus. I never heard of him before. Like
I didn't
I
either. I was like, who is this guy? Is that a random name? but yeah, it's kind of like a trend with them. They go offensive
yeah,
coach and then they go defensive coach and then go offensive coach again. It's just kind of, I don't know if
ye-
that was the best they could have did, but it's who they
yeah.
got. So we'll see how it goes.
Matt Schmeichel or whatever is going to be the next head coach for the Chicago Bears. That would be. I mean,
Yeah,
when I heard that, I was like, and then I mean, he's for the Colts, but like, it's not like the Colts had that much success. So like, I didn't get it as much. But hey, I mean, maybe it'll work out. And they obviously wanted to bring in, apparently his background, Matt Eberflus's background or whatever was developing quarterbacks and stuff like that. So this was solely, I think, a decision for Justin Fields. But
well, yeah. I
I
mean, that's
yeah,
probably be in your best interest, considering you
right,
traded picks to get him, and he's supposed to
yeah,
be your franchise quarterback. So that's probably the approach there. I hope it works out for him, but we'll see.
yeah. Well, everyone, this has been a lot of fun. K&B takes. Kobe Ransom, thank you for joining me once again. It's been a lot of fun talking with you, 49ers, and just around the NFL.
For sure, man. For sure. Always have a good time on this show.
Yeah. So I'll be back, obviously, everyone, tomorrow for probably the 49ers versus pregame reaction. 49ers play the Rams, 4:30 Eastern. No, sorry, not 4:30,
6:40.
6:30 Eastern.
6:40 actually.
40 Eastern. Okay.
Yeah.
And then 4:40 Mountain Time, and then 3:30 Pacific Time. So obviously everyone will be tuning in for that one. It's going to be another fun Sunday of football games. Hopefully it's funner than last week, which I don't know if this week will top. I mean, last week was great, but
Yeah, last week was great because we won too.
yeah.
So if
Yeah,
we
and
lose this week, it's gonna be a terrible weekend for me.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, just considering how far we've been and just like
Yeah, I mean, just before we go, just kind of
yeah.
like seeing where this Niner team was getting into
Yeah.
the playoffs. Is like, okay, I don't care what happens. They got into the
Yeah.
playoffs. It's like, all right, if we win a game, cool. If we lose division round, all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like if we lost the Packers last week, it's like, all right, it's the Packers, number one
Right.
seed, Rodgers
Right.
finally getting his, that kind of thing. But now that they're here, it's like, oh, we're playing the Rams. We're in a
Yeah.
championship game. It's like, all right, hey, we need to win this one. Like we should win this one. And
Super Bowl.
now it's different because the Super Bowl's
Right.
right there. One win and you're in. And it's like the stakes are different. Now it's like, okay,
Right.
we can actually get there. Before it's like, oh, we're here. We're kind of the underdog.
Yeah.
We might lose one of these games. It's no big deal. We were supposed to be here anyway. We were 3-5. Lost to Colt McCoy. Season's supposed to be done anyway. And now we're in the playoffs. And it's like, okay, now we're in the championship game. Let's win this thing.
And the crazy thing is like, before we go, we're still underdogs. Like, it's kind of reminds me of like everyone, I don't know why everyone, like, I hope it keeps going this way where we're still
Oh no, it
underdogs
will.
all the
The
way
reason why is because
through.
no one these people don't know the Niners. They
Right.
don't watch the Niners, especially the way they played early this season. There was no reason really to watch the Niners. So a lot of these big media names don't know what they're looking at with this Niners team. They're like, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo stinks.
Right.
Their offense is just Deebo Samuel. That's their entire offense. Like, no,
Right.
Ayuk's been good. Kittle still exists.
Yeah.
Elijah Mitchell is very good in his rookie season. And then the defense is better than people would like to say, oh, yeah, you got a good defense. No, this defense is very, very good.
Very
like,
good.
it's not like it's just like it's a good defense. No, it's a very good defense.
Right.
So teams don't really know. They see the Rams and they see the Packers and the Cowboys like, oh, Dak, Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Trayvon Diggs gets 11 interceptions in the year. It's like, oh, there's so many stars and Micah Parsons, this and that.
Yeah.
Then you have the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, bad man, Devontae Adams, number one seed, the MVP candidate, all of that. Packers should win this game. Now it's the Rams, Odell Beckham, Cooper Kupp, Stafford, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey. You see all these names. That's what the media goes off of, the names. Like, oh, look how many stars they have on their team.
Right.
Or like the Niners, they have a lot of low-key players. Like Ayuk is kind of like low-key. People aren't really like,
no
one's really going crazy about Ayuk, Like,
Elijah Mitchell.
Crazy about, yeah, no one's going crazy about Elijah Mitchell. No one's going crazy about Al-Shaair and Drake Greenlaw, and no one's going crazy about Ward and Tard and Ambry Thomas and Emmanuel Mosley. No one's saying anything about DJ Jones. No one's saying anything about Arden Key.
Yeah,
like none of these players get talked about. It's like, oh, they got Bosa, they got Debo, and Jimmy Garoppolo sucks. That's like all you get from the Niners.
Yep. Basically 3 lines. Basically 4 words. Bosa, Debo, Jimmy sucks.
Yeah.
Basically.
And then good defense. That's it. So, 6 words. You get 6 words about the Niners. Good defense, Jimmy sucks, Bosa, Debo. And then they got, you got Stafford, you got Beckham, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Higbee. It's like all right, but because they're actually playing football, who matches up better. And that's
Right.
where some of these big media names don't have the the knowledge or experience to really break that kind of stuff down. So that's why
Yep.
that's where the bias comes from. They see names, they see this player should be good, this player should be good. They got more good players in this team in terms of names, not in terms of how they fit together in a
Right.
scheme. But yeah, that's why they're the underdogs. That's why they even if they play, okay, they play the Bengals next week and they win this game against the Rams.
Yeah.
Oh man,
2 weeks from now.
they're calling Joe Burrow like Joe Cool, which is Joe Montana's nickname. And like Joe
Yeah.
Burrow, Joe Shiesty is like Joe Burrow is just like kind of like the media favorite right now. And then you got Jamar Chase and T Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and it's like, oh man, this Bengals team. Or if you play the Chiefs, of course you're gonna pick the Chiefs to win that game. It's like, dude, this Mahomes, offense is unstoppable. And they'll go like, oh, the Super Bowl from '54, we saw the pack, the Mahomes and them. We saw how Jimmy looks in that kind of game. Like, they're gonna pick the Chiefs to win that game. So they're gonna, no matter what happens this week, they'll be underdogs next week too. I mean, in the Super Bowl if they win. So it doesn't even matter. But that's why. That's why I think they get overlooked a lot.
Yeah, this is a good point. Real quick, this is kind of funny. Sean Payton retired like 3 days before his Netflix movie. What are the odds?
He was done.
I know.
It's got a movie now. I got a movie now. Kevin James. All right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Keep life.
Well, everyone, thank you all for watching. This has been a ton of fun. We'll see you guys later. Go 49ers. They play the Rams tomorrow. Hopefully we beat them for the 4th straight time. Peace out, everyone. We'll see you guys.